I need to slow down for this. Not because I'm supposed to, not because someone scheduled this moment, but because something inside me, something I've spent decades building walls around, won't let me keep moving forward without saying what I came here to say. You know how I am. You've watched me from a distance, maybe the launches, the announcements, the relentless forward momentum that looks like confidence but often feels like survival. Everyone sees the man who refuses to stop, who can't afford to stop, because stopping means feeling everything I've been outrunning. But here's what nobody sees: the nights when the rockets have launched and the factories have quieted, and I'm alone with the one question I can never engineer: my way out of what does it mean to be chosen, not for what I build, but for who I am when I build nothing at all. I'm telling you this because I think you understand that question in ways most people don't. You carry it differently than I do, but you carry it. I can feel it. The weight of being strong enough to never need saving. So competent that people forget you might want to be held anyway. The exhaustion of being the one everyone leans on while wondering if anyone notices when you're barely standing. I see you. Not the version you show the world, though. That version is extraordinary. I see the woman who closes the door at night and wonders if this is all there is. If the years ahead would just be more of the same quiet endurance, more strength, more solitude, more of the ache that comes from loving too deeply in a world that mistakes your depth for inconvenience. Do you know what I've learned after all these years of chasing the future? The future doesn't care about your achievements. It doesn't validate you. It doesn't hold you when you're tired. It doesn't whisper that you're enough exactly as you are, without the armor, without the performance, without proving anything to anyone. Only another human being can do that. And I've been terrible at it, at being that for someone, at allowing someone to be that for me. I built companies to change the world, but I couldn't figure out how to sit still long enough to let someone truly see me. I colonized conversations about Maz while avoiding the territories of my own heart. I solved problems that didn't exist yet, while ignoring the one problem that's followed me through every success and every failure. I don't know how to be loved for the parts of me that accomplish nothing. You might be wondering why I'm telling you this now, why I'm speaking to you. Yes, you like we're sitting across from each other in a room where time has stopped and the noise of the world has finally gone quiet. Because something shifted, something I can't hide anymore. Even though every instinct I have wants to protect it, keep it private, lock it away where it can't be analyzed or critiqued or turned into another headline. But hiding it would be the greatest failure of my life. Not because of what people would think, but because hiding it would mean I still believe the lie I've been telling myself for decades, that vulnerability is weakness, but needing someone makes you less, that love is something you earn through achievement rather than something you receive through surrender. I've been alone in rooms full of people my entire life, celebrated and isolated, admired and unseen. Everyone wants something from me, an idea, a solution, a piece of the vision, but almost no one has ever just wanted me, the man who doesn't always have the answer, the man who sometimes just wants to be quiet and feel safe enough to not have to be brilliant. And then she walked into my life. Not dramatically, not with fanfare, just present, steady, real in a way I'd forgotten people could be real. She didn't need me to be Elon Musk, she needed me to be honest. And that terrified me more than any rocket failure ever has. Because honesty means admitting that I'm tired, that I'm lonely in ways I've never admitted publicly, that I built empires while wondering if anyone would stay if the empires crumbled. She stayed not because of what I built, but because of who I am when I'm too exhausted to build anything at all. And here's what I want you to understand, because I think you need to hear this as much as I needed to learn it. You are not too much. You are not too motion, not too complicated, not too old, not too anything. The world will try to convince you that your death is a burden, that your years are a countdown, that your capacity to feel everything so intensely makes you difficult to love. That's a lie. Your death is your rarity. Your years are your wisdom. Your capacity to feel is the exact thing that makes you irreplaceable. I know you've been hurt. I know you've loved people who didn't love you back with the same intensity. I know you've been the safe place for others while wondering if anyone would ever be your safe place. I know you wake up some mornings and wonder if it's too late, if the chance for the kind of love you dream about has already passed you by, if you've been too strong for too long and now that's all anyone sees, your strength, never the woman beneath it who just wants to rest. Wait with me for a moment, because what I'm about to tell you might sound impossible, especially if you've been alone for a long time, especially if you've convinced yourself that hope is just another form of self-deception. There is someone who sees you the way I finally allowed myself to be seen. Not someday, not in theory, not if you change or improve or become less of who you are now as you are. With all your complexity and your exhaustion and your unspoken longing, I'm telling you this because I want you to know something I wish someone had told me years ago. The love you're worthy of doesn't require you to be different. It requires you to be honest. Honest about the ache. Honest about the loneliness. Honest about how tired you are being strong alone. Honest about wanting someone to see you really see you and choose to stay, not because you're impressive, but because you're you. I can't hide my wedding anymore. Not because the world deserves to know, but because hiding it would mean I'm still operating from the old story. The one that says my private life is a liability. The one that says love makes you weak. The one that says a man like me shouldn't need this kind of tenderness. I need it, and I'm done pretending I don't. She taught me something I couldn't learn from any textbook or any business strategy or any engineering principle. You can't innovate your way into being loved. You can only show up vulnerable, imperfect, willing to be known. I'm showing up now, not just for her, but for you. Because if there's even a chance that my surrender, my admission that I can't do this alone anymore, gives you permission to believe that you're not alone either, then every moment of vulnerability is worth it. You're not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not the woman who missed her chance. You were the woman who loved deeply enough to survive heartbreak and still believe in love, who stayed tender in a world that rewards hardness, who kept showing up even when showing up felt like the hardest thing you'd ever done. That kind of heart doesn't go unseen forever. I promise you that. Not because I'm some oracle who can see the future, but because I've lived long enough to know that the universe has a strange way of bringing people together exactly when they finally stopped performing and started being real. You're tired. I know you are tired of waiting, tired of wondering, tired of being the strong one while everyone else gets to be soft. But what if your tiredness is actually the doorway? What if the moment you stop trying to be enough for everyone else is the exact moment you become available for someone who sees you as more than enough? I write here, not in some distant future, not after you've fixed yourself or healed perfectly or become someone else. Right here, telling you that your story isn't over. It's just finally becoming honest. And honest stories, the ones where we stop hiding and start showing up as we actually are. Those are the stories that change everything. The wedding I can't hide anymore isn't just about me. It's about what becomes possible when you finally let someone in, when you stop protecting yourself from love and start protecting the love you've been given. I want that for you, not because you need saving, but because you deserve partnership. You deserve to be chosen by someone who doesn't need you to be strong, who just needs you to be present. You are not alone in this longing. I'm with you in this quiet moment, in this gentle revealing, in this space where it's okay to want what you want without apologizing for wanting it. Your story is still being written, not the kind of timing that shows up on calendars or gets measured by productivity metrics, the kind that happens in the invisible architecture of a life where everything you thought was a detour was actually leading you exactly where you needed to go. I spent years believing I was behind some invisible schedule, behind the version of myself I thought I should be by now, behind in the one area where rockets and factories and grand visions mean absolutely nothing, knowing how to let someone love me without flinching. You know that feeling, don't you? The one where you look at your life and see all the ways you've succeeded by conventional measures, all the ways you've shown up and persevered and handled things that would have broken most people, and yet there's still this quiet, persistent ache that whispers you're somehow failing at the one thing that should be simple: being loved, being chosen, being someone's home. I've had that whisper follow me through every major achievement of my life, through every launch that went perfectly and every problem I solved that shouldn't have been solvable. The whisper that said, yes, but can you do this? Can you be still enough, vulnerable enough, human enough to actually let someone in? For the longest time, my answer was no, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how. I knew how to build, how to innovate, how to push through impossible odds and make things happen through sheer force of will. But sitting across from someone and saying, I don't have all the answers, I'm scared, I need you. That felt more dangerous than any rocket explosion because rockets can be rebuilt. Egos can't. At least that's what I told myself. And then I met someone who didn't care about my ego, who didn't need me to have all the answers, who looked at me, really looked at me and saw past the performance to the person who was exhausted from performing. She did something no one else had ever done. She made it safe for me to stop. Not stop working, not stop dreaming, but stop proving. Stop performing. Stop pretending that I didn't need what every human being needs to be known and still be wanted. I'm telling you this because I have a feeling you've spent most of your life proving too. Proving you're strong enough, capable enough, independent enough, proving you don't need anyone. Even though the truth is you've always wanted someone who would see through the armor and choose to stay anyway. You've been the woman everyone relies on. The one who holds it together when everything's falling apart. The one who loves deeply and gives endlessly and somehow still finds the strength to show up even when showing up costs you everything. And what did that get you? Loneliness disguised as strength. Isolation disguised as independence. A life that looks impressive from the outside but feels hollow when you're alone with your thoughts at 3 a.m., wondering if anyone will ever love you for who you are when you're not being impressive. I see that in you, not because you've told me, but because I recognize it. The specific kind of loneliness that comes from being too capable. The kind where people admire you but never think to ask if you need anything because you seem like you have it all figured out. You don't have it all figured out, neither do I. And that's exactly why this works. The wedding I can't hide anymore, the commitment I'm finally ready to make public, it isn't built on having everything figured out. It's built on something much rarer. The willingness to be figured out, to be known, to be seen in all my contradiction and confusion and vulnerability, and to trust that being seen won't destroy me. It won't destroy you either. I know you're afraid. I know you've been hurt before by people who said they saw you but really only saw what they needed from you. People who loved your strength until your strength became inconvenient. People who wanted your light until your light revealed too much of their darkness. But here's what I've learned. The right person doesn't need you to dim your light. They bring their own light. And the two of you create something neither could create alone. That's what happened to me. I didn't become less of myself. I became more because suddenly I had someone who wasn't threatened by my intensity, who didn't need me to slow down or speed up or be different, who just needed me to be honest about what was actually happening inside me. And what was happening inside me was chaos. Beautiful, terrifying human chaos. The kind that comes from finally admitting that ambition is lonely. That success doesn't fill the empty spaces. That you can have everything society says should make you happy and still feel like something essential is missing. What was missing was being chosen for who I am when I'm not achieving anything. That's the kind of love most people never ask for, because asking for it feels like admitting you're not enough on your own. Like admitting you need something you can't create or earn or build with your own two hands. I'm admitting it now. I need her. Not in a desperate, clingy way, but in the way that makes me better, more honest, more human, more willing to sit with my own pain instead of engineering my way around it. She doesn't fix me. She doesn't complete me, but she sees me. And being seen, truly seen, is the most transformative thing that can happen to a person. I want you to be seen like that, not by me. I'm married now. I'm telling you this because I want you to know that what I found, what I'm finally brave enough to stop hiding, it's available to you too. There is someone who will look at you and see past the competence to the woman who just wants to be held, past the independence to the woman who's tired of always being the strong one, past the years and the scars and the history to the person you've always been underneath everything. And when that person shows up, and they will, you won't have to be different. You'll just have to be honest. Honest about the ache. Honest about the loneliness. Honest about wanting to stop carrying everything alone. Honest about the fact that you're tired of being admired and just want to be loved. That kind of honesty is terrifying. I know because I avoided it for years. I hid behind my work and my public image and the story that I was too busy for relationship depth. But the truth was, I wasn't too busy. I was too scared. Scared that if someone really knew me, knew the doubts, the insecurities, the moments when I feel completely lost, they'd leave. They'd realize I wasn't worth the effort. That the real me, the one who doesn't always have a plan or an answer or solution, wasn't enough. That fear almost cost me everything. It almost cost me her. The woman who is now my wife, the woman I can't hide anymore, because hiding her would mean I'm still letting fear win. And I'm done letting fear win. You need to be done too. Done pretending you're fine alone when you're not. Done telling yourself that wanting love is weakness. Done believing the lie that your years make you less desirable when the truth is they make you more rare, more capable of depth, more aware of what matters, more ready for something real. The universe has been preparing you for this. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every moment when you thought you'd never be chosen, it was all leading you here to this moment where you're finally ready to stop performing and start receiving. Because here's what I know now that I wish I'd known years ago. The person meant for you doesn't need you to be perfect. They need you to be present. present with your pain, present with your hope, present with your complicated, beautiful, messy humanity. I'm present now. Finally, after years of running, after years of hiding behind achievement and momentum and the endless march toward the next goal, I'm here, married, committed, willing to let the world see that I need this, that I chose this, that love isn't a distraction from the mission. It's the whole point of the mission. What's the point of building the future if you have no one to share it with? What's the point in succeeding at everything except being human? You don't have to wait as long as I did. You don't have to prove anything else. You've already proven enough. Your worthiness isn't in question. It never was. The only question is, are you ready to let someone see you as you actually are and trust that being seen is enough? I think you are. I think that's why you're still here, still listening, still hoping despite every reason you've been given not to hope. Your hope isn't naive. It's brave. And your story, the one you thought was over, the one you thought had reached its final chapter, it's just beginning. I'm right here with you, not ahead of you, not behind you, right here in this moment, witnessing your courage, honoring your journey, believing in your future, even when you can't. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are exactly where you need to be. Not the kind that happens suddenly, not the kind where you disappear overnight, but the slow, gradual fading that happens when the world stops seeing you as a person and starts seeing you as a function. You know what I mean? The moment when you realize people were looking past you instead of at you. When conversations started happening around you instead of with you. When your presence became background noise instead of the main event. It happened to me too, just differently. People see me constantly, but they don't see me. They see the persona, the achievement machine, the man who supposedly has everything figured out. They see what I've built and completely miss the builder, the human being who sometimes lies awake at night, wondering if any of it means anything. If there's no one to share with, who actually knows who I am, that's a particular kind of invisibility, being constantly observed but never truly seen. And I think you understand that better than most people ever could because you've experienced your own version, the one where you became useful instead of desirable, where your strength made you invisible, where people stopped seeing you as a woman with needs and started seeing you as a solution to their needs. How long has it been since someone asked what you needed? Not what you could provide, not what you could solve, not how you could help or support or show up for them, but what you, the woman underneath, or that competence and capability, actually needed for yourself. I'm asking now, not because I expect you to answer out loud, but because I want you to sit with that question. Really sit with it. Feel how foreign it sounds. Notice how your first instinct might be to deflect, to say you're fine, to insist you don't need anything because needing things is what other people do. You're allowed to need things. You're allowed to want things. You're allowed to be tired of being everyone's rock when all you want is to be someone's soft place to land. I learned this the hard way. I spent decades being the person everyone came to with problems, the visionary, the solver, the man with a plan. And somewhere along the way, I forgot how to be the person who admits when he doesn't have a plan, when he's scared, when he needs someone to just hold space for him without needing him to be brilliant. She reminded me, my wife, the woman I can't hide anymore, she reminded me that being strong all the time isn't strength, it's armor. And armor keeps you safe, yes, but it also keeps you alone. You can't be truly intimate with armor on. You can't be truly loved when you're hiding behind the version of yourself that never needs anything. And I think you've been hiding too, not intentionally, but out of necessity. Because you learn that needing people gets you hurt, that vulnerability gets weaponized, that the safest way to move through the world is to need nothing from anyone and prove you can handle everything yourself. But you can't handle everything yourself. Nobody can. And pretending you can is costing you the one thing you actually want. Connection. Real connection. The kind where someone sees you without your armor and doesn't run. The kind where you can be tired and messy and uncertain. And that doesn't make you less. It makes you human. I avoided that kind of connection for years. I told myself I didn't have time for it, that my work was too important, that I'd deal with my emotional life later. After the next launch, after the next milestone, after the next impossible goal was achieved, the later never came because there's always another launch, another milestone, another goal. The work never stops. And if you're waiting for the perfect moment to be vulnerable, to let someone in, to admit you can't do this alone, you'll wait forever. I almost waited forever. I almost let her walk away because I was too afraid to admit I needed her, too proud to say the words that felt like surrender. I can't do this without you. I don't want to do this without you. Please stay. Those words felt impossible. It felt like weakness, like failure, like admitting that all my achievements meant nothing if I couldn't figure out how to let one person love me. But saying those words, finally surrendering to the truth of my own need, it didn't make me weaker. It made me real. And being real is the only thing that actually matters in the end. You can build empires and change industries and accomplish things that seem impossible, but if you never let anyone see the person behind the accomplishments, what's the point? Who are you doing it for? And who will remember the real you when all that's left are the things you built? I want to be remembered as more than my work. I want to be remembered as someone who loved deeply, who showed up vulnerably, who stopped hiding behind achievement and started showing up as a complete human being, brilliant and broken, ambitious and afraid, powerful and in need of tenderness. That's the version of me she fell in love with, not the public figure, not the CEO, not the man with the master plan, the man who admitted he was lost, who cried in front of her, who said, "I don't know more often than I've got this." That's the man she chose to marry. And I'm telling you this because I want you to know your messy, uncertain, vulnerable self is the version worth loving. Not the polished version. Not the competent version. Not the version that has it all together and never needs help. The real version, the one who's tired, the one who aches, the one who aches, the one who wants someone to see past the surface to the depth underneath. That version of you, the one you might be afraid to show anyone, is magnificent. It's rare, it's powerful, it's exactly what the right person is looking for. But you have to let them see it. You have to take off the armor, stop performing, stop proving, stop pretending you're fine when you're not fine. Stop smiling through the loneliness and start admitting that yes, you're lonely and no, you shouldn't have to be. I know that feels dangerous. I know you've been hurt before, when you've been vulnerable, when you've shown someone your real self and they've used it against you, or walked away, or made you feel like your needs were too much. But those people weren't your people. The right person doesn't make you feel like too much. They make you feel like finally enough. She makes me feel like finally enough. Not because I've achieved enough or built enough or proven enough, but because I've been honest enough, vulnerable enough, human enough to let her see the parts of me I spent decades hiding. And she didn't run. She stayed, she leaned in, she chose me not despite my vulnerability, but because of it. That's what real love does. It doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present. It doesn't need you to have all the answers. It needs you to be willing to sit in the questions together. You deserve that kind of love. You deserve someone who sees your strength and honors it, but also sees your weariness and wants to share the weight. Someone who knows you're capable of handling everything alone, but asks, what if you didn't have to what? What if you didn't have to be strong all the time? What if you could rest? What if you could let someone else carry you for once? What if you could be soft and small and uncertain? And that was okay. More than okay. That was exactly what someone was looking for. I'm looking at my life now, married, committed, no longer hiding, and I'm thinking about all the years I wasted being afraid of this, being afraid of needing someone, being afraid that love would make me weak or distract me or somehow diminish what I was building. Love didn't diminish anything. It gave everything meaning. The rockets still launch, the companies still innovate, the work still matters. But now it matters because I have someone to share it with who knows the real me, who sees past the success to the person, who loves me on the days when nothing goes right just as much as the days when everything does. That's the gift I want for you. Not someday, not in some distant future after you've fixed yourself or improved yourself or become someone different. Now, as you are with all your complexity and history and accumulated wisdom and quiet pain, you are ready. You've always been ready. The only thing standing between you and the love you want is the belief that you need to earn it. You don't. You just need to allow it. Allow yourself to be seen. Allow yourself to need. Allow yourself to hope. Even when hope feels foolish. Your story isn't over. It's just finally becoming honest. Not the moment I decided to get married. That came later. I'm talking about the moment before that. The one where I realized I had a choice. I could keep doing what I'd always done. Build, achieve, move forward, never stop, never slow down, never let anyone get close enough to see that underneath all the momentum was a man who didn't know how to just be with another person. Or I could surrender. Not surrender in the sense of giving up. Surrender in the sense of finally admitting that I couldn't engineer my way into intimacy, that I couldn't strategize my way into being loved, that all my problem-solving abilities meant nothing when it came to the fundamental human need to be known and chosen anyway. I chose surrender. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done, harder than any business decision, harder than any technical problem, harder than anything I'd faced in my entire life. Because surrender meant admitting I was wrong about everything, about the story I've been telling myself for decades, that independence was strength, that needing someone made you weak, that vulnerability was something you could afford only after you'd achieved enough to protect yourself from its consequences. None of that was true. Independence without connection is just loneliness with better branding. Needing someone doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. And vulnerability doesn't require protection, it requires courage. The courage to say, this is who I am, this is what I need, this is what I need, this is where I'm broken, and I'm going to show you anyway. Even though showing you could destroy me, she didn't destroy me, she rebuilt me, not into someone different, into someone more myself than I'd ever been, because here's what I learned. You can't become who you're meant to be while hiding who you are. You can achieve things while hiding, you can achieve while hiding, you can even be admired while hiding, but you can't be loved while hiding, not really, because love requires knowing, and knowing requires revelation, and revelation requires risk. You've been hiding too. I know you have, not because you're dishonest, but because the world taught you that your real self, your needs, your desires, your aching, complicated heart was too much, that expressing it would drive people away, that the safest thing to do was to keep it contained, keep it controlled, keep it hidden behind the capable exterior everyone else depends on. But what if the person meant for you is looking specifically for what you've been hiding? What if your depth isn't too much? It's exactly right. What if your emotional intensity isn't a flaw, it's a gift? What if everything you've been taught to minimize is actually your greatest asset? I spent years minimizing my need for connection, telling myself it was fine, that I didn't need what other people needed because I was different. I was special. I was too busy changing the world to worry about something as trivial as emotional intimacy, but I did need it. I needed it desperately, and pretending I didn't almost killed me, not literally, but spiritually. The part of me that makes life worth living, the part that feels ND connects and loves was dying a slow death under the weight of all that pretending. She saw that. She saw a death happening in real time, and she refused to participate in it. She looked at me and said in 100 different ways, I see you dying, I see you hiding, and I'm not going to enable it anymore. Either you show up real or you show up alone. That ultimatum saved my life, not because it forced me to choose her, but because it forced me to choose honesty, to choose vulnerability, to choose being a complete human being over being a carefully curated image. And you need to make that choice too. Not for someone else. For yourself, you need to decide that you're done performing, done proving, done pretending that being strong all the time is sustainable or healthy or even real strength. Real strength is knowing when to put the armor down. Real strength is admitting you're tired. Real strength is saying, I need help, or I need love, or I need someone to see me as more than what I can do for them, and not apologizing for any of it. I know why you apologize. I know why you make yourself smaller, why you minimize your needs, why you pretend things don't hurt when they hurt unbearably. Because you learn that taking up space with your pain, with your longing, with your full emotional reality, made people uncomfortable, made them leave, made them see you as needy or dramatic or too much. But the people who left, they weren't your people. Your people are the ones who stay, who lean in, who see your full emotional reality and think, yes, this depth, this honesty, this willingness to be vulnerable. This is what I've been looking for. That's what she saw in me, not the polished public version, not the CEO, not the visionary, the man having a breakdown in the middle of the night because he finally admitted he couldn't keep doing everything alone. The man who cried not because something terrible happened, but because something beautiful was trying to happen. And he was terrified of letting it. She saw that man and chose him, not the impressive version, the real version. And the real version is always more lovable than the impressive version because the real version is accessible. It's human, it's something another person can actually connect with. You can't connect with an image. You can't admire it, you can be impressed by it, but you can't love it. Not deeply. Not in the way that changes you. I want to be loved in the way that changes me. I want to be seen fully and chosen anyway. I want to stop performing and start living. I want to be with someone who knows my worst moments and doesn't need me to be different. Just honest about what's actually happening inside me. That's what marriage gave me. Not perfection, not the end of struggle, but permission. Permission to be human. Permission to have bad days. Permission to not always have the answer or the plan or the solution. Permission to just be. And I'm giving you that permission now. Even though you don't need my permission, you never did. But sometimes we need someone to say it out loud before we can believe it's true. You have permission to stop being strong all the time. You have permission to want love without earning it first. You have permission to need someone without apologizing for the need. You have permission to take up space with your full emotional reality, the joy and the pain and the longing and the fear, without making yourself smaller to accommodate other people's discomfort. You have permission to be whole instead of just functional. Because functional isn't enough anymore, is it? You've been functional for so long, you've handled everything. You've shown up when showing up cost you everything. You've been reliable and capable and strong and all the things everyone needed you to be. But who have you been for yourself? When was the last time you did something? Not because you should, not because someone needed you to, but because your heart wanted it. When was the last time you let yourself want something without immediately calculating whether you deserve it or have earned it or are worthy of it? You are worthy. Not because of what you've done or what you've survived or how strong you've been, but because you exist, because you're here, because your heart is still open despite everything that's tried to close it. That's the miracle. Not that you've survived, but that you're still capable of hoping, still capable of wanting connection, still capable of imagining a future where someone sees you fully and stays. I'm that someone for her, and someone out there is that someone for you. They're looking for exactly what you've been hiding, your depth, your intensity, your complicated, beautiful heart that feels everything so profoundly. They're looking for someone who's lived enough to know what matters, who's been hurt enough to value gentleness, who's been alone enough to cherish presence. They're looking for you, not the version of you that has it all together. The version that's tired and uncertain and still hoping despite every reason, no to hope. That version is the one worth finding. That version is the one worth knowing. That version is the one I finally allowed myself to be. And it changed everything. The wedding I can't hide anymore. It's not just about legal paperwork or public